Are you ready for cooking with Strawfoot? Do you need cooking with Strawfoot in your life? I think you do. And do you want to make adorable, fluffy bunny dango? I know you do. So the first thing we need to do is get all our ingredients together. I'll go through them in detail as we make the dango. The first ingredient is a brown rice flour. This is the unsweet flour. There's actually two types of flour in dango. So the first would be unsweetened rice flour. I chose brown rice flour, but white would also work. You need about 1 cup. The next ingredient is our sweetened rice flour, or sweet rice flour. It's mochiko. And you can get any of these ingredients. Most of them you should be able to get at a good grocery store or an Asian food market. If that's not available at your local retailers, you can order them online. The next ingredient, of course, is sugar. I chose to use an organic brown sugar. I think it's probably healthier. I don't know. But it's definitely tastier, so that's my choice. But if you don't have this, you can use any kind of granulated sugar. Monster hunters aren't really picky eaters, so you can always substitute things and just kind of experiment and see how it tastes. And now to make the dough, we had to add water. This is the trickiest part, really. And I don't know an exact ratio to tell you, but you want to mix it in until it starts to congeal together in a dough. And the texture you're looking for, the traditional Japanese explanation for this is the texture of an earlobe. So you keep adding water until you get the texture of an earlobe. I know it sounds funny, but it's actually a really good analogy. You'll see when you start making it, you can definitely feel it when it's at that consistency. Just nice and doughy and easy to roll into little balls. You don't want it crumbly and falling apart, but you also don't want it. And so you see it's kind of a back and forth process. Just add a little water, add a little flour, and just keep going back and forth. If you're not comfortable mixing with your hands, you can mix with a whisk or a spoon. I'm using clean hands. I think it's just easier when you can feel the dough. But again, I'm vaccinated and my hands are clean and I live like a hermit. And this is actually a great time of year to be making dango because dango is traditionally served during the Japanese spring Sakura festival in a form that's called haname dango. And I may be pronouncing that wrong. My Japanese isn't that great yet. Haname is 2 words. The first hana is flower, and the second me is eye or see or look. So it's literally looks like a flower. And so when you're making haname dango, you have the bottom, it's 3 parts, and the bottom dango is green, and the middle one is white, and then the top one is traditionally pink. And so that's how you get the look of a spring flower in your dango. Once you've got your dough to the right consistency, you just want to divide it up into equal portions for each color. And this is pretty messy. It helps if you get a little flour in your hand sometimes, and my dango is a little too wet right here. You can see there's too much moisture in it. And so if that happens, you can always, of course, keep adding more flour. And you can put a little bit of flour on your baking paper so that it doesn't stick. That helps also. And off camera, I do this in a little bit. You won't see it here, but I do add some some flour to my baking paper. Oh my goodness, what a mess. Now this right here is the really fun part. This is where we're gonna add our colors. You can use food dye for this if you don't have these available. I'm using strawberry powder for the pink. I'm also going to add just a little bit of red food coloring. The strawberry kind of gives it the flavor, and the red food coloring just really brightens it up. So that without the red food coloring, it kind of is a very dull pink. And I want these to be vibrant, so I'm adding just a little bit of food coloring to this dongo. For the green food coloring, I'm going to use matcha powder. Matcha is a Japanese tea leaf ground to a fine powder. It has a really great flavor. The green dango is actually one of my favorite colors of dango because I just really enjoy the flavor of the tea leaves. For the blue dango, which is not part of Haname Dango, but since we're making Fluffy Bunny Dango, we can do lots of fun colors. So I'm doing some blue, and we're going to use a little bit of acai powder. The acai powder, I probably put too much in here because it's a very dark color. I'm also going to add a little bit of blue food dye to really bring out the color. And the acai gives it a nice flavor, and it's very good for you from what I've heard. Lots of antioxidants and good things that your body needs, so it's fun and messy and delicious. And ready? 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! Oh, geez. It's too mushy, as you can see. What happened here is I added too much water, but it's still a lot of fun for our little palicos to play in. Kind of like Play-Doh. Okay, so that didn't work, but we're gonna try again. And with the magic of movie editing, ta-da, here we go. Look at that. That is so much better. It just looks a lot tastier. The first time there was just too much water in my mix, and also the colors were a little too dark. You have to remember that when you are going to boil the dango, the colors are going to get darker. So if you're too dark before you even boil them, then you really need to go back and try again. Making dango or any kind of cooking, I think, is just like hunting monsters. It's sort of an adventure, and sometimes you're going to fail a quest, and you have to be okay with just going back and trying again. So that's what I did. Now the next step is you want to boil some water. Get your water to a good boil in a pot before you put the dango in. Once you see it's nice and bubbly like this, then you're going to go ahead and just drop the dangos in. Now you can do them in a smaller pot and just boil one color at a time. That way the colors don't cross-contaminate. But I don't think I mind that much if the colors mix a little bit. You know, if my whites get a little bit of pink in them or whatever, I'm okay with that. But if you're a perfectionist and you want each color to be perfect, you could do them just in groups by color. Now what you're going to do with the dango, once you've got it all in there, is you're just going to stir it just a tiny bit to make sure it doesn't stick. You don't want the dango to stick to the bottom of the pot because when you first put it in, it's kind of mushy and sticky. And you don't want them to stick to each other. So just kind of stir them around a little bit and make sure they're not stuck on any of the other guys in there. And then once you've stirred them, then just let them sit for a little bit. For me, I think it took maybe a little less than 10 minutes. And then you can tell when they're ready because they'll float right to the top. Once they floated to the top of the pot, then you know that they're cooked, and you want to leave them in there for about 1 more minute just to make sure that they're cooked all the way through. And then you're going to take them out one at a time and drop them into a bucket of ice water, just like this. Be careful because the water's hot and sometimes they fly off the spoon and you can get burned. So just be really careful. And if you're a kid watching this, maybe have a parent help you with all the parts on the stove. If you don't drop them into the ice water, what happens is the internal temperature of the dango will stay hot because they really do a good job of keeping heat in them, and they'll burn themselves on the inside. So you want to drop them into the ice water so that they cool off rapidly, and that kind of just helps give them the right texture also. Next, we're going to place the dango back on a sheet of clean baking paper, and we're going to leave them there just long enough for the water on the outside of the dango to evaporate away. Then we're at our final steps here. We're going to place the dango on a bamboo skewer. Once we've got our dangos on the skewer, we can decorate them with a traditional sweetened Japanese red bean paste. You should be able to find this at your supermarket. If not, it's also very easy to order online. Traditional Japanese dango would only be placed on one skewer. This, however, is Monster Hunter Rise style Fluffy Bunny Dango, so we're going to place it on 2 skewers. This helps hold the weight of the massive dongos that we made. These are much bigger than traditional dongos, and you can see that when the skewer comes through the top of the dongo, it makes 2 adorable little bunny ears. Isn't that cute? And that's it. Now you can decorate these however you like. Traditionally they use a Japanese red bean paste, but I imagine you could use any kind of sweet topping to decorate them and it would be pretty good. I've seen people drizzle honey on them all kinds of different ways. These dango are ready to eat. Yeah, I hope this was fun. Sorry it's not a top 10 list of the best great swords or, how to speed run Nergigante. But Strawfoot's channel, you get what you get. Thanks, guys. Please do like and subscribe. Stay tuned because we're going to have some hunter stories coming up from the last video. And even more lore videos. I think I'm going to start with Puke, if that's all right with you guys, because I really like him and I think he'll be a fun lore video. Oh, and I am going to have an assistant researcher join my channel. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you again, guys. Click all the things. Do that for me. You can even visit the Patreon or the Discord if you want to hang out with the community. Love you all. Peace out.